Hello all. Oh, useless wizard. Thanks for subscribing, mate. G'day, May Den. Hello, Paul. Wow, what an exciting way to start a stream. We're underway already. Boom, Maddox. We're going to try and... Hello, useless wizard. How exciting. Thank you for joining my stream. Appreciate the subscription. Thanks, mate. Well, you'll get to see some more stuff tonight. Or this morning, wherever you are. Depending on where you are. Yes, I think we're all still figuring out non-metallic metal, mate. Yeah, so when this is the angle at the moment. You can see that rim light. So yeah, that's going okay, but I need to smooth all that out. I'll do some airbrushing and some other stuff today to clean that up. But the focus today, now that we've got a sense of the metal, we're going to continue. Oh, unlucky, mate. Well, I will be posting it all to YouTube, so... But appreciate the subscription anyway. And I do weekend streams, which is in the morning for me. You'll be able to catch those, hopefully at a more reasonable time for you. So, thanks, champion. Yes, we're going to do a bit more work on the skin. Maybe start doing some of these details up the top, just so we can get a real concrete sense of the whole piece. And then we'll keep going on the metals and see how things go. So, let us commence, friends. I think I already showed. I might show off a few bits and pieces of the Dritz diorama that I'm ready to go with, except for one model. Oh, Topulus, it must be a similar time for you, buddy. Hey, Match Fixer. Hi. Oh, g'day, Sharkwald. Haha. You'll definitely want to buy this. It's a really, really cool sculpt. Fun to paint. Thank God for Teams, eh? I got a Teams meeting tomorrow, going for a classic 4 hours. It is a month review. It's going to take 4 hours to review. Great. Very, very much looking forward to it. Can't wait. Oh, g'day. Celery? What's happening, friend? G'day, AJ Grow. How are you, mate? You going to do some streaming, Celery? Just going to do a very slight camera adjustment, friends. In my very limited experience, Celery, not being comfortable whilst you are trying to do a stream will result in you doing a shit job and not enjoying the stream. Both of those things are not conducive to continuing the process, so I would advise getting yourself set up with some equipment that allows you to be functional and don't feel inhibited by. Awesome, Topulus. I'm going to claim full credit for all of that. I've inspired a generation of new streamers. How good. G'day, how's Groomy? Yes, certainly AJ Grow. There's a lot of excellent YouTube channels out there. It does depend on what sort of models you're planning on painting. If you're thinking of painting display stuff, or if you're thinking of just painting miniatures for board games and for armies for games, I've got different recommendations for both. Cool. So the guys that I normally recommend for that sort of stuff, there's a few great channels. So one's Miniac. He mostly does Warhammer stuff, and he does a lot of interesting videos, but he's got a lot of beginner focused videos. You can go check out Lila Mev, the Mini Witch. She does some good videos aimed at more beginner painters, as well as some sort of more advanced stuff. I do, if you're willing to go to like a Patreon sort of level, there's quite a few good Patreons that are aimed at beginners. But yeah, if you just get onto YouTube and search for beginner miniature painter stuff, you'll definitely get into some good material. There's a lot of good. Yeah, Zoroaster is another great one actually. That I did space on. He was in my mind at the start. Hi Wampasaurus, g'day mate. Oh, g'day ODSNZ. It's all happening. Just painting this little dude. Yeah, we're sure. For more advanced content, I do then generally recommend Patreon. There's a few people that do advanced stuff, like Marco Frazzoni does some pretty cool advanced stuff on YouTube for free. You're welcome, AJ Grow. But for Patreon, you can get into some of those really crazy miniature painters who do this as a career. G'day Kevo. And those guys will get you really up to the next level, but you have to pay for it, which I think is still worth it. I'm currently subscribing to 3 Patreons right now. Oh shit, I forgot to change that. I was going to change it so it costs like 5,000 points instead of 2,000. What a rookie error that is. So, ours Groomy, I wrote an article and I've referenced it a lot, and I'm sorry for that for people that have followed me for a while on this. But it was an article that just expresses a lot of my thoughts. And so you have a thing in any task, specifically art, but any task as well, which is the skill ceiling and the knowledge ceiling. So what you generally find is the knowledge ceiling will increase, and then the skill ceiling will follow once you've practiced. But you'll often reach a point when your skill ceiling, so your ability to do things, reaches your knowledge and understanding. And a lot of people plateau at that point and then don't take the next step because they don't go and find more advanced learning. The issue is that a lot of people don't have their skill at the level to be able to absorb new information and take on new information. So what it sounds like to me is now's the time for you to go and learn some new techniques, understand a little bit more theory stuff, and get into that side of things, because it's now that you'll be able to progress, because your skill set is at that level. I actually do Diorama. He's one of the 3 I subscribe to. I subscribe to Sergio, I subscribe to Craft World Studio, and I subscribe to Oliver Spaeth at the moment. I've been a subscriber of Oliver's in the past, and I like his content, but I'm gonna drop the subscription for a few months until he releases a bit more new content. But Sergio is probably one of my biggest, most inspirational miniature painters, because he brings 2 things to the table. He loves using his airbrush, which I also am quite partial to, and he genuinely loves painting, and he talks a lot all the time on his Patreon about how you have to enjoy what you're doing, and that is crucial, absolutely crucial. So if you are on the fence about subscribing to Sergio, I would definitely get it done. I mean, if you go and watch a few of his videos and find the content's not for you, don't stay subscribing. But he's my favourite painter for Patreon. I've been a subscriber since he launched, 3 years I think, however long it's been out, and haven't dropped him once. He releases good regular content, lots of interesting different approaches, and yeah, he's a nice guy. Yeah, Ben Comet's also fantastic. My problem with Ben, no, it's not a problem, but that he does a lot of his technique, which is the I can't remember what it's fucking called, where he puts the tip of paint, white paint on it, whatever that fucking thing's called. Someone will tell me in this chat. I tried it. Whatever it's called. Yeah, loaded brush. Thanks, Legends. Fucking 17 people, loaded brush. There you go, loaded brush. Fucking hell, did I remember that shit? Yeah, loaded brush. It wasn't a technique I was that interested in trying. Yeah, I tried it, but then I was like, cool, I know how to do that, and it doesn't interest me. I shall continue doing other things. But very cool dude. Actually, when I went to Monty a few years ago, Ben was one of the judges, and I didn't get any medals, and I was sort of outside, packed up my models, and I was just standing out in the foyer area, well not foyer, the town square at Monty, and everyone's just sort of chatting and hanging around and stuff, and Ben was in the area, and I was having a chat to him, and he was willing to give up some of his time to provide me some feedback about my piece, which was really appreciated, and ended up going for about 30 minutes. We ended up just chatting for like 30 minutes about contrast and values and all sorts of stuff. And this is from a dude who I'd spoken to him before, but never met him. And he's such a friendly guy, and everyone wants to chat to him and hang out with him. And he gave up half an hour of his time to spend with me, chatting about my models. So I've never forgotten that, and gave some good advice. Yeah, great call, Yanamar. Get it done. You won't regret it. You won't regret that at all. Contrast. Yeah. Well, congrats, Celery. I hope that all goes to plan, mate. Yeah, I mean, Kev, contrast is the eternal challenge, and you'll see a lot of painters when they are trying to take that step up. It seems to be the biggest challenge for them, being able to go and get enough contrast from their work, and it can look jarring. The problem that you'll have, and probably one of my weaknesses, is there's a variety of different contrasts, which I've talked about before. One of them is saturation contrast, so you can have saturated and desaturated colours. And then one is value contrast, which is high value, high dark. Hey, Ashes. And both of those are important to be able to implement on a model. My weakness is I'm not as good at controlling my saturation, as evidenced by this piece of shit, as I am controlling my values. So if you are struggling to get enough value contrast, maybe try some saturation instead. So add a little bit more greyness to your colours, and see if that will help you provide some more contrast. I am indeed doing well, Ash's painting. Yeah, I don't think you're alone there, mate. It would be probably the one thing when people ask for advice and critique that I see more regularly than anything else, is just really lacking in value and changes in value. Sorry, mate. I use good materials and equipment, and I follow good people, and I pay money for those things. I don't get, I'm not sponsored by any brush companies or anything. I buy all my paints, I buy all my stuff, buy all my models. So yeah, I spend the same sorts of money, mate. But it is worth it, I think, especially if you're on a journey of trying to improve. So last night's gaming, play every Tuesday night with some of the peanuts that come on here and fucking sledge me. Last night we played Lost Ruins of Arnak, which is a board game that's been getting a lot of press recently, and I saw it at my local hobby shop and just bought it as a bit of an impulse purchase. So you're going to get a little Lost Ruins of Arnak review a little bit later on. Haha, Through the Ages. How good is that game though? Seriously awesome, guy. Fuck, it's fucking classic. Haven't been playing a lot of it this week. I've been playing Spirit Island instead. But yeah, Koki and I are going to set up a game soon of Through the Ages, a new story of civilization. How is it going, Celery? Are you able to beat the medium AI with any consistency yet? Indeed, Wumposaurus, it is a board game. Well, it was originally a board game. So through the ages, was turned into a digital port, which you can buy on your phone. But it was initially a board game before it was made into said port. %'s pretty good, actually. Took me a long time to be able to beat them, if I remember rightly. My win rate against the hard AI now is about 40%. Ooh, I looked at it. Here's my concern with Zombicide. Played one Zombicide, you played them all. And I don't enjoy the Western aesthetic as much as I enjoyed the Black Plague. So I'm sort of probably a no at this stage. One of the other guys in the group is going to go all in though. In our regular group. It's awesome having a group that just pretty much everyone likes a different subset of games. So anytime there's a Kickstarter for XYZ game, there'll usually be one of us that gets into it. So what I'm doing at the moment, friendos, is I am adding back some dark contrast into my metals. And the reason I'm doing that is we are going to do a bit more airbrushing into the metals. And I want to just have some more dark in there. Because when you do the airbrush, as I've discussed, you both smooth and refine, but you also lose the value that you previously may have gained. So we're going to do some airbrushing to smooth out. Oh, VPC, g'day mate. Thanks for joining the stream. Yeah, Adama, I'm with you. It's not my favourite. Like, it's not my favourite game. It's fine. It's a game that does what it says on the box. You roll some dice, you move some dudes around, you have fun, you get chased by zombies. We play so many games now, and so many of them are so much better than that game. So it doesn't get a lot of play in our group. But if, for example, when I went down to visit my good mate in Tasmania, the great man Aaron Whale, my girlfriend came with us. We pulled out Zombicide Black Plague and had a game with her, and she loved it. She thought it was the best. So it probably contributed because she walked into a room and the first thing she did was pick up one of the treasures, which is a shotgun. She was walking around like Ash from Evil Dead, just going, boom, this is my boomstick. Captain Carp, g'day mate. I'm into Spirit Island at the moment, Adama. I'm playing the shit out of it. I'm actually at the end of this stream. When I close up the painting stream, I'm gonna go play some Spirit Island and stream that, because I'm trying to beat each of the adversaries at the moment with three spirits. I've beaten Sweden level 5, Prussia level 5, England level 4 with 3 spirits. So I'm trying to get England level 5 before I go on to the big level 6s. So the broad strokes of this guy were set out the other day, and what we'll find is that the next stream or so is not going to be as interesting, because what we're doing is just going back in and tweaking and refining and continuing to work on each of the little elements and improve them and make them better. But there's going to be less smashing colours and pulling things together and doing cool stuff. But you should see, you'll see a little bit more of the refining part of the process. If you've never used a glaze before, this is what a glaze looks like. Oh, how good is the crystal clear quality? So I'll grab out a little bit of paper towel. So this is the consistency of paint that I'm working with. Actually, a little bit more dilute than that even. But what I'm doing that's sort of different to a normal stroke, and if you have a look at the tip of the brush here, you'll see there's basically fuck all paint on there. But I'm being very thoughtful about where I pull the paint from and where I pull the paint to, which is leaving no tide marks. And because there's such a small amount of paint on my brush, it doesn't really look like it's doing too much, but you're getting these pigments that are being distributed relatively evenly throughout that area, and it's just slowly tinting the surface. So when you see me do those rough brush strokes, and you can see all the sketchy marks, all that gear, by using these glazes here, you can just like if you zoomed in on a newspaper article and you see all of the pictures are actually just lots of fucking little dots. But what you're doing when you're doing a glaze is you're distributing the pigment that is little dots of pigment across the surface area and filtering out that blend and smoothing that blend. And that's what the airbrush does on a much larger scale. So when you want to smooth and refine transitions, you'll use a glaze to do so. And then I mix that up with painting lines, shapes, colours. What do we think that is there? G'day, Jeffy. Indeed, VPC, the glaze technique is extremely useful. I don't think you can get to a high standard without knowing how to use them. But, and I'll caveat that, using them and only them will often create a very, very slow process. And I am not about that. Thanks, Gallowfire. I have no interest in the fucking slow. Let's get all amongst that fucking speed, baby. So I'm trying to talk about non-metallic metal and explaining the reasons why I do things, and Thanks. Yeah, it's getting there, Kung Fu Shrew. And one of the issues with my non-metallic metal painting is I haven't really explained why I've done the lights placements. So I'm gonna explain a little bit about that now. My girlfriend's just sending me a frantic message. What's going on? Oh, not that important, just doggo pictures. Oh, awesome. Awesome, Jeffy. They look after you, packing them. So let's use this armor plate as a bit of an example down the bottom. So the first question you have to ask yourself when you're painting non-metallic metal, and in fact the first question I ask myself when I'm doing any painting, is where is the light source? Ask it every time. Now in this instance you can see this will give you an indication where the light source is. This is coming from the top down. Now this model I've got two light sources. I've got ones from behind. Yeah, do you feel lucky, punk? Many people know me, mate. I'm very famous and popular. So the first question you ask is, where is the light source? The second question you ask is, why are you doing two light sources, you fucking peanut? But let's assume we're doing one light source and it's coming from the top, at the front, sort of this angle. So what I do then is I think about how each object, surface, volume, will respond to a light source coming from that direction. Now, helmets are a great example because they're a sphere, and this is a sphere. So sphere reacts in a very specific way with light. The light comes in, hits the spot, bounces off, and this is what you get as a result of this. I think it's the specular highlight or whatever the fuck it is. So that is where the light comes from. Now, one of the really challenging things about non-metallic metal is the placement of the light actually depends on where you're standing as a viewer, and that's one of the reasons why some painters don't like non-metallic metal, is because it doesn't look right if you look at it at the wrong angle. So if you look at this angle, for example, it doesn't look as effective as this angle from a perspective of, is this metallic? Is this object metallic? So you have to not just consider where is the light source coming from, but what is the viewing angle, because that will then influence where you choose to place your highlight. So here we are on this object. So this is a cylinder. We've got two objects. Actually, we've got a cylinder, and then we've got a sort of a rectangular shape as well. Now every one of these objects will react in a similar way based on where the light source is. So with a cylinder, you get a highlight running all the way down. Highlight doesn't change intensity, the positioning of the highlight. It tends to be a pretty uniform line down a cylinder. Now if it's not quite a cylinder, if it's more rounded at the top, if it's bigger at the top and narrow it down the bottom, that's when you start to see the change in shape. But for this, it's relatively straight, so you've got a relatively straight highlight. Now one thing you do tend to get with metal is you tend to get these bouncing lights, and one of the most fun things about painting on metallic metal is just sitting there and thinking about the light. And so when we're looking at the way that light interacts with non-metallic metal objects, we also have an effect of light bouncing off a metal and then bouncing up, because the metal's very reflective and so it reflects a lot of light. And what you're getting here underneath is the light reflecting up and hitting this object. That's not entirely correct in how I've done that. I'll go back and tweak that later on. It wouldn't be quite as powerful as it is on the underside. We'll definitely have this rim, but we're not going to have quite as intense a light because the light's hit the cylinder, rebounded up, but it's lost intensity. So we will have a light here, but it won't be as intense as this top light. This is another example. We've got that same light source, so we've got light here and here. Now every time you think about metal, you have to reflect on, little pun there, you have to reflect on what is the environment, because metal is reflective and it reflects the surrounding environment. And so what you tend to get is secondary lights coming up from different positions and different angles. And so you can see here I've gone for a green secondary light, which is basically the colour of the ground and the environment. So we've got the highlight at the top, which is reflecting the light, and we've also got a secondary light colour coming down here. I've made it hard for myself by adding a third fucking colour, which is this shit. So all of these things are things that you get to think about and play around with as you're painting your non-metallic surface. But the very first step is going, what sort of object is this, what sort of shape is this, and how will it react to light? And that will then inform your decision about where you should place highlights. Now I will come back to your question, Wamposaurus. I'm not ignoring it. I'm just in a bit of a flow about describing non-metallic metal. Now one thing you can get when you have a large flat surface like this is you can get your highlight, but then you can also get a little secondary bounce light, which sort of looks like a little line beside the first line. And so you'll have seen me doing effectively that up here on this section here. So that's the light bouncing off the surface and then hitting it in a second spot. Cujo did a really good video that talked about non-metallic metal from his approach, and he talks a lot about that little secondary bounce light and how when you're painting objects that are relatively smooth, such as an axe face here, one of the things you can do is add a little bounce light, which is a secondary light like this, and you'll actually have a more realistic, that was really bad there, Deno. Sorry, I forgot I'm ultra zoom, so I just did this. A little secondary light alongside the first, and that will create a more realistic looking flat surface. This sort of object here, I find these to be some of the most challenging to paint. These sorts of objects, just completely flat surfaces. So I like to create interesting planes and positions for the light to be reflecting. Again, being respectful of where is the light source coming from. So if a light source is coming from this direction, based on the angle of this hammer, we're going to have it hit this top part here. We're actually going to have it hit a lot of the bottom as well, but I'm actually doing the pink light from the bottom because I think it looks a little bit more interesting. So we're sort of breaking a little bit of the rules of how light should interact on this object here. But that's okay. You're allowed to break the rules whenever you want, as long as it looks cool. And when you are trying to achieve non-metallic metal for the first time and you're learning, the pink light is creating contrast, absolutely. The pink light's doing a lot of things. When you're first trying to paint non-metallic metal, the best thing you can do, the absolute number one thing you can do, is just try some shit out, because there's a myriad of ways to paint non-metallic metal, an absolute myriad, and there's no better way to learn than to actually try things out. Again, so this is another metallic object I'm painting here. So the light coming from that direction, it's not going to hit this top point and reflect off the top, which is what you would think would happen. It will, because of the angle of this one, because of this is angled back. If you have a look, so what we're seeing is the light running down the face and reflecting off the bottom. Could be wrong the way I'm doing it. Probably isn't. Fucking rarely wrong. But the other thing you need to do is always highlight your edges. Jeffrey, you know as well as I do, mate, I've never claimed to be modest. Never claimed to be a modest man. I would love to, VPC. Feel free to post some pictures in the chat. I'm going to finish off my non-metallic metal gibber, then I'm going to answer Wamposaurus's question, and then I will go on to your piece. The final thoughts. To get non-metallic metal looking right, I did talk about this a little bit more the other day. You really have to have a lot of contrast. You don't necessarily want to go from black to white. Rarely do I use pure black, and rarely do I use pure white. But you do need to have a large amount of contrast between the lightest area and the darkest area. And that will help reinforce the metal looking like a metallic surface. So there's some theory, there's some thoughts on non-metallic metal. So to respond to your question, Wamposaurus, no, I don't. Glazing is for boring people. No, it just takes too long. My technique achieves a similar result in 1/4 of the time. So what I do is just sketch and just bounce around sort of mindlessly. I considered stuffing it. No. Bounce around mindlessly, just sketching things, painting stuff, having fun, and think about what I'm doing. But the sketching part is roughly the same. So, oh, that's super legit. Let's bring it up on the screen because this guy shits all over me. Fuck a duck. Boom. You're the best. VPC! Nothing's gonna ever keep you down, you're the best. Very hard for me to give you much feedback on this, mate. This is a much higher level of non-metallic metal than I do. And it's also a significantly different type of metal to what I do. This is a sort of hyper-realistic land type of metal. Mine's a little bit more artistic than this, but it doesn't look too wrong in any one area. Maybe the belt buckle right near the top of that thigh plate. You see how you've got the light coming sort of on an angle down from the breastplate down to the thigh plate, and you've got that nice colour. You haven't quite hit that same level of light intensity on the belt buckle, and you probably should, based on the placement of it, at least certainly on the end of it. I don't know if every element's finished yet or not, obviously. I would try and get some red reflections into the armour from the fabric. Bronze is nowhere near as reflective as steel, but you will still see some very subtle reddish tones in there. And I'd like to see it when you finish the other stuff as well. But that's pretty awesome, man. Really good. Now let me ask you a question, VPC. How long have you spent on this? How much is a good amount of time? Yeah, cool. It's pretty good. This is 2 hours work. So the two different techniques are coming at almost vastly different angles, vastly different perspectives. So I don't know if I could do that, what you did. It's very much out of my wheelhouse. But I reckon if I spent 10 to 15 hours, I could get similar. No, I mean I've done some pretty full on projects where I spent a lot of time on them. But no, it's less about attention span and more about I want to paint heaps of different models. So many cool models to paint in the world. So but that's awesome work, really awesome work. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of painters in the world, right? And every one of them comes from a different perspective. But there's a guy who paints stuff. His name is Albert Moreto Font. Now, this guy, he's an old school G-dub fan, right? Loves old school G-dub stuff. Absolutely froths over it. And his inspiration, his style of painting is all about that old school G-dub, heavy metal, super smooth blends, transitions, styles. And I'll bring up one of his works because it's fucking cool. So here is stand by. He's a great dude. Actually, I spent just a couple of hours chatting to him at Monty. He's a fucking superstar. So I'll show you two of his works. He can be tonight's artist spotlight. So this first one was going to be his release was going to be his Monty piece, and Monty got cancelled, so he didn't end up doing it. So here we go. It's based on a piece of artwork from Adrian Smith for the Trudvang game. And we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of hours, and he just does glaze after glaze after glaze. But look at how smooth that is. It's just obscene. And he just continues to raise the bar. But he paints like 2 models a year, which is what he wants to do. And I think the most important thing is just enjoying what you're doing. He loves it. This is another one. So I saw this one in the flesh. So there's some more of that hyper realistic non-metallic metal stuff. And yeah, that's just hundreds and hundreds of hours of effort. And if you want to paint that way, good luck, more power to you. It's awesome. If you can put in the effort and the patience, it's sensational. Yeah, Flamion is another guy who does similar stuff. I can't get anywhere near that level of smoothness, but I can paint 50 display models in a year. So, swings and roundabouts, friends. Swings and roundabouts. you are right, mate. You are right. It doesn't quite sit right for me either. When you have that much metal and you're not reflecting as much of the other skin tones and so forth that are around there. But he's a far better painter than I, so good luck to him. Alright, I'm going to make these things steel as well. So yet again, I'm going to refer to my amazing article. It's all about setting goals for yourself. It's all about goal setting and understanding exactly what you want to achieve out of your painting. And if what you want to achieve is painting like Albert or like our good friend VPC here, put in the hours. Enjoy the time, relaxed. If your goal is to just improve, that's probably not a method that I would suggest early on, because you're not going to have enough exposure to different painting techniques and practicing enough. You're just going to be repeating the same task over and over. If your goal is to paint lots of models or gaming models or whatever it may be, you just got to understand what it is you're trying to achieve. And I promise you all that will be the last time I will refer to my stupid article tonight. Yeah, I'm pretty confident with what I do in the time frames I do it in. I mean, I've painted display models in 3-4 hours. No problems. But I will say this: there is a vast amount of difference between being able to explain what you're doing, like talk about how to do what I'm doing, and actually being able to do it. I have one of my mates come over. He was like super keen to learn how to paint the way I do, because he sees me crank out gaming models and stuff. Like I do super cool board game models in an hour, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I want to do that. I'd be mad. I want to make a backlog, make a dent in my backlog of board game models." I was like, "Yeah, fucking sick, man. Come over, we'll do some painting. It'll be fucking great." And I was like, "Yeah, cool. So I'm just gonna fucking airbrush some of this, and we're gonna do some highlights like this, and we're gonna glaze this bit, do a bit more airbrushing." I painted a model in like 40 minutes while he's standing there watching me. And he's like, "Fuck, man, that was so easy. I'm fucking so excited to go home and do it." And he called me the next day. He's like, "You're a fuckwit, man. Like, you are such a fuckwit. Seriously." What's up, man? He's like, "I can't fucking do what you did. I couldn't even get close, you wanker." I was like, "Oh well, not my fucking problem. Paint better, dickhead." Yeah, well, this guy's about two and a half hours now worth of painting. And the real question will come down to how much refining do I want to do. Like I could probably, based on how I'm going with him so far, I could probably turn this guy into a really, really high standard, high quality display model. And I'll certainly be aiming to do a good job, because it is a commission. But at the same time, for me to take it to like a standard that I'd be happy to enter in Monty, there is probably a big chunk of hours that would need to be done to get it to that standard. I don't think it's going to be that hard, VPC. Got this wonderful contrast paint that we're going to use. It's going to work a treat. AC, you can go and watch the last stream in this one. You could time it if you wanted. I spent most of the last stream tweaking the base, the big old base, about an hour, and then I started this guy in the second half. But I did a bit of gibbering during that time as well, so if you time my actual painting time, yeah, I reckon we'd be pretty close to bang on 2 hours. All roads do lead to volume. That is a great quote. Fucking love that colour. Yeah, we're going to do voluminous pink. Get amongst it. Not here to touch Flicksters either, Flick. Hey Flick, I did a section specifically for you, mate. Just before this, you probably didn't catch it because I know you're not a real fan of the show. But I did actually talk about the thought process that goes into where I do the light placements for the non-metallic metal, and I did that specifically for you, pal. So you can watch the stream. On YouTube. Good for you, Sharkwold. I will look at them at some point. So let's actually change things up a bit now. We're going to do some leather. So when I'm doing leather, I have a few things I like to do. But again, the main one that I like to do is make sure that the colour that I'm using for the leather is reflective of the environment. So here I'm actually going to start highlighting my leather with purple, with my favourite colour, Orchid White. So this is going to keep the environment colour involved in the leather, respectfully. Yeah, it's all mostly model colours that you buy from miniature manufacturers. I've got Vallejo, Games Workshop, some Scale 75, some Nocturna, some Chimera. But yeah, it is all predominantly acrylics. No oils, some washes. I'm going to show off the next diorama soon. Looks as though Camelot's still a way off, which is a shame. But we will instead start the Forgotten Realms diorama. I'm going to show off the models that I've started assembly for, which will probably be the next Twitch project. Yeah, Chimera great, really cool colours, cool dudes too. When I'm doing any model like this, display models and big models, I find it really important to work on everything around the same time. Like this stuff that I'm doing now, it's just blocking in colours, right? But the undercoat, the primer, whether it's black or some of this sort of stuff, it can actually be detracting from your vision, distracting what you're seeing. And having everything else on the model a little bit more progressed really allows you to see better. Haha, Lopez, running late, son. Expecting you to be on Sledging Me way earlier than this. I forgot my train of thought then. I'm sure it was shit. We'll move on. That's a good call, mate. All the blood rushes to my head. When I'm doing leather, I like it to be lived in, textured, and so I like to leave a lot of these visible brush strokes. Don't forget though, as always, we're over contrasting so we can under deliver and also bring the contrast down. I reckon that was a genius marketing decision from them. Genius. Guys, you ready? Let's use this flash word that painters are always talking about to name our new line. It's going to be great. Gunzo! Doubt it, mate. He's a busy man these days. He's got 2 kids. That was a little joke for you, mate. I reckon this is a metal plate here. This little bit. Or leather. I'll do it as metal. Alright, who's ready for tonight's board game review? Lost Ruins of Arnak. Doing board game reviews and miniature painting and playing board games on this stream. It's amazing. What a multi-talented fellow I am. So, Lost Ruins of Arnak, we, as I said, play a lot of different games and bought that one as a bit of a spur of the moment decision. I saw it in a shop that I was in, and it's been getting good press recently. So it's a game, it's a point salad, a Euro point salad scoring game where your objective is to score the most victory points. And there's a few methods for doing that in the game. It combines worker placement. So you have workers that you can send out to various dig sites trying to find the lost ruins and exploring the island. You have a hand management component of it because you also have a deck, which is like a deck builder. And then you also have a third element, which is like a research track that you're trying to progress up. So it takes all of these various elements that are generally elements in their own right of board games and tried to fuse it into one cohesive game. And I think they pulled it off. It's a really fun game. We all universally agreed that we liked it. It felt a little bit difficult to tell who was winning at any one given time, which is good and bad. It's a competitive game. But yeah, on the whole, really, really fun game. We will be playing it again probably next week if we have 4 players. We often find our second players when everyone starts to understand the game that we get a better sense of the game. But yeah, it was a hit with our group. I'll invite you next time, Lopez. You can use the snake men. Had a work phone buzz. Love a late night work call. Always bodes well. Wampasaurus, I am a sales and operations manager for a company in Australia, so I manage teams of people, help them resolve their problems, which are many and varied at the moment, and yeah, just do all manner of jobs, things. In case you hadn't clicked, Nicky Jaguar is one of my team members who just laughed at me talking about the variety of problems that we have had in the last few weeks. So that's very amusing. So once again, the contrast paints will help smooth all this stuff out and make it look a little bit more refined, but hopefully not too much. Still want to have some of that texture there. And then we'll do a little bit of tweaking after the contrast paints. G'day Flick. Welcome to the stream properly, mate. I do tell people to get amongst it for a living, that is a fact. I never use oils, no. Never ever. Not because I don't see the value in them, I do. The reason I don't use oils is my impatience. I have a technique that is mucho rapido, and oils would slow that down, slow the flow, and make for more frustration. So I don't use them. Mickey M, hello mate. Yes, the light effect I have shown off in the last few streams. So if you want to go and have a watch of some of the other streams, you'll see how I've done this effect. The answer is it's all Jedi mind tricks, very easy stuff. Just wave your hands and it works fine. So flick always with my technique, always over contrast, because everything is going to get brought back down when we do glazes, when we do airbrushing, everything's going to pop down. I have one of Dimitri's works in my cabinet. It's fucking awesome. And yes, his works are great. He does unreal stuff. He did a really good video on his Facebook page about how he uses oils, if you ever want to learn. Yeah, it's an awesome video. Contrast paint on leather! Alright, so it's time for some airbrushing and some bits and pieces. So we'll do the contrast paints on the leathers. So I'm going to mix the contrast paints on my palette because I want to have not just brown tones, but I'm trying to incorporate some purple tones into the colours. So, yep, Volupus Pink coming up. Volupus Pink, get amongst it. Best colour out there. That's a bit better, I think. You didn't tell me what to do in my house. Air horn, baby. Woo! Is my technique becoming so predictable now, friends, that you can just know when I'm going to use contrast paints on leathers or what? Do I need to mix things up? Do I need to do a paint job where I use no contrast paints? Pre-contrast, then I used inks instead of contrast paints. Still did the same stuff. Just used the scale 75 intensity range. But yeah, we can do some stuff without contrast paints. Just do a lot more airbrushing probably. Oh, screen's frozen, has it? Stand by. Stand by. Good time for Raiders to rock up. Hello, Raiders. This is going to be going significantly better in a second when I fix my camera, which just shut itself. Shut itself. Stand by. Hey, hey, we're back. We're back. Hello, friends. This is me. This is my model that I'm working on. This is Maddox from Black Sun Miniatures. It is a display piece that I'm working on for a very ungrateful client for my commission. That's an awesome emote. I love it. And I will show the base off in a second. We are about to do some airbrushing. I'm just teasing him. He's actually in the chat, mate. He's a lovely man. Just giving him some stick. So this is the base that we're working on, and this guy stands in the middle. So we're about to do some airbrushing now. Haha, awesome. Airbrush time, the best. Okay, so what we're going to try and do with this airbrushing, and I say try because I'm not sure yet. Thanks, Weet-Bix. Ah, celery, you've saved it for a good time. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Cotton Eye Joe. Appreciated that, celery. That's great, mate. Thanks. Good timing. Save it for the Raiders. That's good. Alright, what we're going to try and do is tweak the skin tone a bit using my favourite colour, peanut butter. And we're just gonna slowly massage everything a bit. Oh, I see a spot where I've missed some contrasting. I'm doing it. I'm changing the price right now. Bit of massaging of these bad boys. So now we're going to go into a little bit of red again, just to add some more tones. This is one of the things the airbrush is just glorious for, is just some gentle tweaks to some tones on areas. So I'm going to ban people like Sharkwild from doing it. So cool. Now I just want to tweak the metal a bit. So we're going to do some. Do some. This is the air. I try to show people the airbrush consistency in the background when I remember. So that's sort of how much paint we've got going on. That's a cool way of adding texture. We won't do that now. It is just black paper, yeah. I definitely need to change that shit. Get some. 15. I'm changing that fucking Cotton Eye to 25k. Get amongst it. Alright. Now we're going to try and just do a touch of refining to the transitions between the pink sections. If you guys supply the cowboy hat, I'll wear the fucking thing. Hey, Flixter, you paying attention to this, mate? This is a very crucial stage, pal. It's just a small amount of airbrushing required. It is an Iwata HPB+. Well, I have talked about it at the start of each section, what colour I'm using and why, and what I'm doing. Yeah, that was just a magenta. It is a pretty tiny cup. It's a smaller cup. Let's tweak with a little bit of straight off-white. Oh, why is there pink in there already? Fucking duck. Good question, Paul. Flixter, you got any action on that for us? This is off-white, straight off-white. I'm just doing some very, very thin smoothing, unifying glazes. And we're probably a smidge dilute. It is a mixture I've talked about a couple of times, mate, but it's a combination of thinner, flow improver, and water. Oh man, I'm so fucking raging about that, eh? I'm fucking back at number 1! Give me my fucking models! No, I've got models to paint. I'll show you actually my next project. That should take me up until I get Camelot. I like the thinner. I've just felt like it helps dilute the paint a little bit better than water and flow improver. This is Contrast Volupus Pink Friends. It's a colour I'm sure some of you are familiar with. From the Trent Denison Love Songs album, Greatest Hits of Paint Colours. Alright, I'm actually going to do something else with this colour. Just tweak this bad boy. I'm with you, Topulus. I'm ready to go, mate. I'm ready to fucking go. Just give me my models. Oh, Wheatbix, welcome back. I think we all missed you, mate. Very much. Topulus was inconsolable. We had Celery. He was crying. Just didn't know when you'll be back. This is a green contrast paint flick, and I'm doing this because I just want to bring the metal tones down a bit and add some visual interest into the colours. So as always, we've over contrasted and now when we do this, we're bringing those colours down. You got it, mate. Environmental reflections. And the last stage of the metal is to do the really powerful pop highlights, and those will be the thing that will sell it as a convincing surface from my metallic technique. And I should caveat and say this is just the way I do metals. It's not the way Land Studio or Kirill does their metals, or Masculins or anyone. This is the Trent Denison patented method. And the reason I like the airbrush, thanks Topulus, good on you, mate. Yeah, the advantage of using the airbrush like this is I can go back and forth and tweak, and every time you do this process you're adding more layers of background information, more textures, more colour tones, that's making for more visual interest. Now, I've said before, someone who's better than me could probably do this much quicker and without using as many layers. But this is a fun way to do it. So. Yeah, very, 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 very easy to get smooth blends and a lot of contrast using this technique. And that's something you don't often get together. You don't always get smooth blends but high value contrast. Just want to add a tiny little bit more saturated colour into the skin tone. Yeah, we'll do a bit of purple in the skin. The purple will probably be pretty late in the piece. Very hard to get purple and overpower very, very quickly, so I like to be very considered with that towards the end. But there will definitely be some purple in there. Alright, that'll do for that. Maybe actually just a little bit of blue. So I'm going to have a little chat break and show you the plans for the diorama for the Companions of the Hall. Which is starting to take shape. No, it's actually the physical model. Well, a photo of it anyway. I can show you the physical model, I suppose, but... You know, actually, I genuinely think that was done in MS Paint, that fucking one. Because I had no other computer program on there. It was on my laptop and I had fucking nothing on it. Man, classic. Alright, let's leave that to dry for a touch. I don't know if there was, I just remembered I've got to tweak, do a few sections in actual contrast. I did. This bit. So what we've achieved out of that little period of airbrushing, you can see that there's a lot more smooth transitions again, whereas before we didn't have smooth transitions, we had rough sketchy lights. So we've achieved that by virtue of using the airbrush, which is a glorious tool. Aha! I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Joe. Appreciate that, mate. That's great. Thank you. All right, here we go. So let's show off. Let's show off Companions of the Hall. So if you don't know Companions of the Hall, it is a saying. It is a team name, the group name of the heroes from the Forgotten Realms series, written by R.A. Salvatore, Drizzt Do'Urden, hi Dr. Flink, Wulfgar, Regis, Bruenor, Caddy Bree, Gwenwiviar. No spoilers, mate. I will not say any spoilers at all. So you in Streams of Silver? Okay. I wasn't going to spoil. I enjoy the book series a lot. Did you you started with Crystal Shard into Streams of Silver? Crystal Shard was the first book he wrote, and it gets significantly better from there. Particularly when you get into the Legacy Passage to Dawn books, which is probably the second like trilogy. So that's when it starts to get really, really good. There's a prequel trilogy which is called Homeland, Exile, Sojourn. What's that trilogy called? The something. Oh, g'day Tui. I don't think it's called the Dark Elf trilogy. Is it? Maybe it is. Whatever. I agree. I think they are awesome, but they were written quite a while down the track. Anyway, so the heroes in the book series are a Dark Elf ranger named Drizzt, the magical companion that he has, which is a small onyx statue that he can call forth a real panther, whose name is Gwen, and that is obviously Drizzt with his two scimitars in the front, with his panther beside him, Gwen. Drizzt is a dark elf, and dark elves are hated by the races that don't live. Well, they're hated by everyone, but particularly reviled by people on above ground. But he manages to befriend a dwarf by the name of Bruenor Battlehammer from the Battlehammer clan, and that is Bruenor standing there. So he has a little axe as well, and I've filed off the pattern that's on the shield, and I'm going to add a foaming mug tankard onto there, because that is the Battlehammer standard. Yeah, it is a little axe. It's a pretty small axe, actually, the one that he's got. I might need to make it bigger. Regis is a halfling. He's a thief, and he has possession of a... Yeah, I'll talk to you in a sec, Tui. I've got some plans. Regis is a little halfling. He's a thief. He spends the first book whittling like stuff and like trying to get out of conflict, and he's a shit character, but so that's him up the top there, avoiding conflict, playing his little harp thing, liar. We've got Caddy Bree, who's a young teenage human child of Bruenor. He raises her. I can't remember when her family was killed by someone. I don't recall why he was a dad, but she was fully raised by him, and she follows after the companions on their quest to find the Battlehammer original home, and then the final model, which is not here yet, and the one I'm waiting for, is Wulfgar, son of Bjorngar, a human barbarian. He's a monster. He wields a magical warhammer that was forged by Bruenor. So, when I construct dioramas, and I'm starting to get pretty pro at it these days because I've done a fucking lot of them, comparatively, I guess, to how many dioramas most people make. Yeah, bang on, it is. That's a spot on description of it. The placement of the models is the thing that I think is most important. And so I spend a lot of time with stuff, putting it on there, using blue tack to position guys, and just trying to get an interesting looking shape. So I like to think about height, and height is very important to have different eye lines for you to look at. I'll show you the Wulfgar model in a second. So Regis is at the top there, but he's got a really beautiful angle which drives the eye line down into the model. So I like that positioning of him, having him up. So even if someone starts their gaze there, you're naturally drawn down into the rest of the positioning. Bruenor's got a lean towards up against that thing there, and he obviously has to be on that side of the diorama. But I've tried to open him up into the frontal facing of the diorama, so his eye line and Regis's are in a similar spot. Drizzt is he's a ranger, and he normally moves forward as scouts around, and so I wanted him at the forefront of the diorama. But as you can see, and as Tui immediately noticed, what's happening is he's overpowering some of those slightly smaller models. The dwarf's a lot shorter than him, and so he's drawing a big lot of attention. And I don't necessarily want that to be the case. I want to almost follow that angle from the tree down and have an angled sloping piece. So what I'm going to do is actually create a little ledge for Drizzt to be on, and the panther will be stalking on the same height as the dwarf. So it'll look hopefully angled down like that. So Catti-brie and Wulfgar, and this is why I haven't started constructing anything yet. Catti-brie and Wulfgar. So Wulfgar is going to stand behind the panther, but he is a very important figure in the diorama, because I think he's actually probably the best model. So I think I'm going to put him in the center where Catti-brie's standing right now, and I'm going to have him raised almost to Regis's height, because I want him to be very imposing presence, a big presence in this scene. So no matter, this is my first D&D diorama. I've done a couple of others. I did my Wizard of Oz one, but this is the first D&D one. So I could put Wulfgar behind Drizzt, but I don't think I will, because what that will also do is it will ruin that flow down effect, because he's obviously going to be taller than Catti-brie. So I think Catti-brie being behind Gwen, sort of at the back, a little bit tucked away, feels appropriate for her character. Sort of standing behind Wulfgar, very protective of her. He's going to be a big imposing presence, but he'll end up being still following that same angle. There's going to be a tree, a twisted tree behind where Catti-brie's standing now, which will be where Wulfgar is. To again, and I'm going to try and create the branches to have that flow down effect of the positioning. So I'm going to have it be like a ruined temple site that they're exploring, the Forgotten Realms. Obviously, lots of ruins and shit. D&D. I've got some cool Kingdom Death stone face bases I'm going to use for that, and that is the plan. So once Wolfgar gets here and I can just make sure that my thought process works and we can get some good visual angles from the piece, we will proceed with the construction of the base, and we will then move into the painting of each of those. So the one element that I am trying to decide at the moment is, do we have this set in the northern Icewind Dale realms, and so that's rocky, snowy, mountainous area. Yeah, it is 100% supposed to be Drizzt, mate. Like, he's got 2 scimitars and a fucking panther, for crying out loud. The other option is have it set in the book series that W. Walzer is reading right now, which is Streams of Silver. So that's where they've actually ventured forth from Icewind Dale, moving down south towards the ancestral homeland of Bruenor Battlehammer. And so they go through a few interesting locations that I won't talk to them, but there'd be less snow, more forest. So the colour palette of the snow one is probably a bit more appealing to me. I have done a lot of warm colour schemes recently. Something colder would be cool, but it's also more challenging to draw, to do skin tones that feel correct. Yeah. So that's where we're at the moment on this piece. I won't be building the base on stream. I don't think I'll have the. I don't think I can get the camera in a good angle, and I'm also I fucking go frantic, right? I'm just like throwing shit up. You know, fucking stick a tree there, fucking cut some shit, fucking putty this, blah, just go crazy. But we may do. But we'll definitely paint all these models on stream, all 5 of the models. I did, but I mean it's a travelling cloak, right? So it could be a heavy cloak, and they're all heavily clothed, basically. So I think it would work for them either being up north or starting their journey into some more forested area. We'll see. It's very hard to make decisions until you've got all of the pieces. So I do want to make a little horned helm for Bruenor as well that I can just put near the shield. One horned helm. He's got a little horned helm where one of the horns is snapped off like a champion. Very good. Very good. Indeed it was, thanks to an orc. Quick varnish, friendos, and then we shall get back into painting this boyo. What's that? Rime of the Frost Maiden. Another one. I'm not sure if I'll do a night scene. I struggle at the best of times with doing convincing daylight, so let's not try and make it too fucking complex for Big Deno. We've got to paint 6 fucking models for crying out loud. Drizzt is the model that inspired the diorama, but I don't think that this doesn't feel like a scene where they're meeting people. This feels like a moment in time where they're having a brief rest. Drizzt is like, okay guys, you rest, I'll go scout some shit. Come on Gwen, let's go have a look around. And everyone else is just sort of getting into a restful pose. The difficulty with that sort of diorama, so that's 5 different miniature manufacturers there. It's not that none of those are intended. Yeah, that was just varnish, mate. Just a matte varnish. None of those are intended to be put together. So you have the difficulty of trying to combine the eye lines and everything feeling correct as a whole unified piece, and it can be challenging to do that. All right, let's do some more fun stuff. Oh, Voodoo's got me singing as well. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Cotton Eye Joe. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Fixter's a wanker, wanker, wanker. Fixter's a wanker, wanker, wanker. I hate Fixter. He's such a wanker. Cotton Eye Joe. When you're working with contrast paint and other paints that have a variety of reflective properties, when you use them all on one area, your eye line can be tricked, your eyes can be tricked at what you're seeing. It can look like something is more refined than it is. Doing a varnish removes any trickery from the satin or non-satin finished colours, and you get to look at the model what it looks like. It also protects the work you've done underneath and a few other things, so that's why I do it. I didn't mean that, Flick. You're a great dude. Of all the people I've ever met, mate, you are definitely not one of them. On your wamp, have a great night, mate. Sleep well. Dream of Cotton Eye Joe. Indeed, Sharkwild, and you'll find when you do a matte varnish, it can be a fucking deflating experience because you think that you've done a really cool smooth blend, but you're actually being tricked by the satin, the reflectiveness of the paint. It's making it look like the blend is smooth than it actually is, which is fine. Like you don't have to fucking have a fully matte finish figure. That doesn't need to happen. But I find that because I'm working with so many different, because it's a super thin layer, mate. I mean, I've varnished this model 3 times now throughout my paint job. I'll probably do it another 2 or 3. Easy as. Anytime I do airbrushing, I do a varnish just to affix the paint really firmly because it's so finely applied. I want it to stay on there. Anytime I want to remove the satin finishes and get a better sense of how the model is looking, I do a varnish. And yeah, usually at the end of the night, I finish it as well and do a varnish. Don't worry, mate, you'll be able to watch the YouTube and get the full explanation again. It depends on the model, Frosty. It actually depends on the model. I like I sometimes like a little satin finish. Not always. But yeah, a satin finish, because of exactly what I've just described, it can make your colours pop a little bit more, it can make everything feel more vibrant. So I do sometimes like to do a satin. Bang on, Sharkworld, bang on. Love Vincy boy. Frosty, I mean, the reality is, right, there is no right answer. It's art, it's subjective. Some people like the satin finish, some people like the pure matte finish. What you got to do is ascertain what you like, what you want it to look like. And for me, it varies on model to model. I purchased a model the other day. The dude sent me a message afterwards. He said, "Oh, it's a fully matte finish at the moment because I took some photos of it for box art." And I was like, "Awesome." He's like, "Do you want me to varnish it or whatever?" And my response was, "I want you to send it to me in the thing you're most happy with it." Shazbanger, I have been known to paint a little Jats Crackers every now and then. Yeah, it can be demoralising to find that out, mate. It can be very demoralising to be like, "Yeah, I'm doing such a great job," and then you go, "Oh my god, this is actually fucking dog shit." Correct. Yeah, when you reach that level of understanding what each of your paints is going to do, your properties that they have, you can use that. You can use the finishes to your advantage, and it's probably one of the weaknesses of my painting is that I don't implement or utilise those things more. Hello guys. Crazy, funny stuff. Ah, Jan! The big man! Welcome to the stream! Thanks for the raid, my man. Welcome, new friends. Oh, we're singing again! We're singing again! I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. I've been married. Cotton Eye Joe. Sorry, new friends. One of my fucking things that people can spend points on is making me sing that song. What the fuck, Sister of Battle, are you talking about, mate? Oh. We'll be having words after this, Flickster. We'll be having words. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. One of my moderators, please fucking go and change this shit, please. You're killing me. Oh, that's right. I'm the only moderator. Voodoo, why? Why you do this? I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Cotton Eye Joe. Are we finished yet, friends? Are we finished? It's okay, the viewer count drops, mate. If the painting of this glorious piece isn't enough to keep them on, that's okay. What have you been painting, Jan? Are you still on, mate? What have you been painting today? More Kingdom Death or what? Beautiful. I like that model. I started it myself. Didn't get too far on it. Don't you do it, you fucks. Nah, it's good fun. You gotta have a bit of fun, friends. Don't do it. Don't fucking do it. Try and do some good painting here, guys, and you're killing me. So everything that we're doing now is re-adding contrast, continuing to build up some of this stuff. Yeah, it's going okay, Flinky. It's going okay so far. There's a few things we need to continue tweaking, but I'm okay with how it's going. I reckon we're at about 7 hours of work on this and the elaborate base. It's probably not that much actually. I've done a lot of talking. If I was pushing, I could probably finish this in 10, but I secretly, that's probably not a secret actually, I've been wanting to paint this model for a long time, so I'm really enjoying it at the moment. I'm just going to keep painting it until I feel like I don't want to paint it anymore. So you'll just have to put up with some of this painting, and in the meantime we need to wait for the Wolfgar model to turn up anyway. So this is actually a mixture of ice yellow and a Vallejo game colour called Emerald. So it's a yellow and a green. I like using the two colours mixed together because it's a really cold colour, but it adds some nice life to the colours. It's like a light highlight colour, but it's not white, so you still get a little hint of vibrancy that I like. Yeah, love ice yellow. Fuck. The best, I reckon. The most used colour in my arsenal. Now, Volubilis Pink's great, but it's not up there. It's not. It's no Orchid Light. It's no Ice Yellow. It's no Peanut Butter. Those are the colours that define my style, I think. Cool, mate. I appreciate that. I'll go have a look. Is it something I should do on stream, or should I do it after I finish? In other words, is it nude pictures of you? I'm really disappointed if it's not nude pictures now. Ah, awesome. Thank you. That'd be great. Hey, so Flick, just to talk seriously for a moment, one thing you'll notice, and this helm's a great example. If you go back and look at the helm before and after, you'll see that those values have dropped significantly. So it's smoothed all the blends out, but it's dropped the values. So when we add this next layer of highlighting that we're doing, we're just continuing to ramp up the contrast, which is again, hey Cujo, your Achilles heel is the contrast, so this is kind of a sneaky way to get more contrast. Yeah, I'm not just going in the same spots as I was before, but you'd rather have too much contrast before you go in an airbrush than not enough, because otherwise you'll just have very, very flat grey tones that don't read right. No, not Cujo. Fuck, Cujo's the man. Cujo leaves us all for dead. Except for maybe that fucking legend who did the bronze non-metallic metal earlier in the stream. That guy's awesome. Fuck Angus. I'm fucking Australian, mate. I'll kick the shit out of that guy. Well, this is an important one, Flick. So, when you're doing lighting like this crazy shit that I'm doing here, you always have to remember that the light is coming from a specific direction, and if you're highlighting stuff from the other direction, like here's an example here. So the actual highlight on this helmet, right, even though we've got the lights, so actually probably not great because the light's at the top, but the light coming from behind like this, you would actually still have a normal color highlight here along this line. And same with this little chip here. If the light's coming from beneath, then you'll still have a highlight on top of this of a normal color. Very, very advanced stuff happening there, mate. And I think at this point, when you're doing these sorts of micro detailing stuff, like this is when you can just do whatever the fuck you want. Like, this is when you put little scratches and cool shit all over the model. I always like these super zoomed up shots because you can see that the transitions aren't really that smooth, but when you look at it from further away it does look smooth. No, not normally, Cooge. Not normally, mate. But it's actually been something I've enjoyed with the streaming, is I've got this zoomed up version of the model sitting on my screen up there, which is sweet. I am very fortunate that my eyesight is glorious. Indeed, yeah. So this is another thing I like to use contrast paints for when I'm doing non-metallic metals. Like all this stuff I'm doing here is cool, but it does lack a little bit of contrast, so I'm just going to do a quick layer of contrast to make sure I've got enough contrast up in my contrast. What? Boo, 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 boo. Yo dog, I heard you like contrast, so we put contrast in your contrast. Specifically on these little things here. Let's do it. But you want to go pretty dilute. Oh, I forgot those little fucking skulls. Let's do some shit on the skulls. Love painting skulls. Oh man, tonight's flown by. I've been so engaged in painting this fucking dude. You could be right, mate. I can, Mr. Stark. Cool, so first thing I do is dip my brush in the water, swish it back and forth, as you can see my hand in the palette, very quickly, 2 or 3 swishes, and then depending on what I'm doing, if I want to clean it off, I go in here, which is the sponge, and just push a little bit hard in the ferrule so the colours come out. The airbrush changes is because I work with really dilute colours and not like thick colours. All I do is go bang, airbrush cleaner, backflow, smush my synthetic brush in there, water, smush my synthetic brush in there, backflow, dry it out, job done. Indeed, Cujo, indeed. Like a savage. You killed him! You killed those brushes, you damn dirty apes! Has this guy got fucking pygmy skulls on his neck or what? Or are these supposed to be like a necklace? Hey Cujo, did you include that Willow reference in your video because of me? Because if you did, I feel so special. Ah, the best. You're the best around. Nothing could ever keep you down. You're the best around. Nothing could ever keep keep it down. You're the man, Tui. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for the advice. Could be wrong. I might not do contrast paints on these skulls. You're the bar director. Okay, God. That's almost the funniest line in that 130 Arnold Schwarzenegger quotes, I reckon. I laughed so hard at that when that came up. So you're the bar director. The contrast paints that I'm using are very, very dilute, and so what it's doing is it's acting as a filter. It's not really doing a wash like a traditional wash. Ha! Thanks, Toxic Power. It's not really working like a wash. It's just filtering the colours. So what you're seeing is all those transitions getting smooth and blended, and all of the values getting decreased and brought closer to the mid-tone. Sharklord, I've had about enough of your shit tonight. Gotta tell ya, had it up to here. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. I've been married a long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Wooka 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 woo. I have no idea how to answer that, Cujo. Oh, g'day, Macca. I'm glad you enjoyed that, buddy. So, Flick, just a serious one again, mate. So when you're doing the highlights of metal and you're trying to get this sort of metal effect here, you have to be considering the angle of the viewer and where the angle of the light source is. So in this instance here, a normal highlight, the way you would normally highlight an object, you would highlight the top because that's where the light is, and then you would probably have highlights, and then you would go into shadows down the bottom. But with your non-metallic metal, the light is coming from the top and it's hitting this point here and bouncing straight towards you as a viewer. So you need to consider highlights from the perspective of where is the viewer standing and where is the light coming from to sell the effect convincingly. Well, I'm happy to answer those questions, Little Sharkwald. So ask away. You need to choose a viewing angle, because you almost can't get non-metallic metal looking right from every viewing angle. It just doesn't happen. Because there's the reason, what you're doing is you're simulating light reflections on a metallic surface. And the issue with that is the way that light reflects off that surface changes when you move your head, right? You think about looking at a metal surface, you move your head and the light moves with you. And that's because the light is dependent on where you are as a viewer. Yeah. I should come up with some word bingos of shit that I say all the time. Have I said optimal viewing angle before? I'm sure I would have. It's one of my favourites. Bang on about that all the time. Cujo definitely has a video on painting non-metallic metal. I too have referred to it. What I've found when doing non-metallic metal is it rarely looks right until the very end. It usually just looks like dog shit until that very last highlight, and then all of a sudden it just comes together. Good one, Cooge. Yeah, the little white dots at the end will be the thing that sells it as metal. And usually it just looks like grey until that point. But when you get to that point, it feels fucking satisfying. You're just like, yeah, boy. Yeah, that's a good call, Zugs Wangs. It doesn't often look good in the hand, because your natural inclination when you look at something in your hand is to want to turn it around and, you know, twist it and be like, oh yeah, this looks cool. Non-metallic metal always looks better from, bang, this is my angle that I'm looking at this at, and that's that. I'm sure you think this looks fucking awesome though, Zug Wang, hey? I'm sure you're like, this is the best non-metallic metal I've ever seen in a moving picture. This guy's the fucking best. Oh. And I can feel it calling in the air tonight. Oh Lord, oh Lord. That's it. You're a dickhead. And you beat me at Lost Ruins of Arnak last night. You suck. Did enjoy that game, eh? Maybe we should change that to be 5,000 points, and you get to pick a song for me to sing. Zugs Wang, I'd love to make it to Monty this year, mate, but it's looking very, very, very unlikely. We're still pretty much banned from international travel, so it's not looking good. I'd like to be there. Had an amazing time last year. But yeah, not looking good. That's a good question, Walzer. Monty is always second weekend in November. I may do some freehand. I may do. I'm not sure yet. Let's actually ask Flick. Do you want me to do some freehand, Flick? Mr. John Stark, there is a website called Putty and Paint. It's not the be all and end all of miniature painters because it's a bit of an arbitrary thing. But Sergio is not number 1 on that list. He's number 5, I think. I think if you asked who is the best painter in the world right now, you would probably get a 50-50 mix. No, you get a 33% mix of people saying Arnau, Lazaro, Kirill Knave, and Land Studio. Those would probably be the 3 best painters in the world right now. Depends on where you get, who you ask, and where you go. Because on any given day, any of the people in the top 20 could be considered the best in the world. Sergio is certainly one of my favourites. I should just caveat. I just said anyone in the top 20 could be considered best in the world. I think I'm actually in the top 20, so everyone but me in the top 20 could be considered best in the world. I am most definitely not in that fucking combination, in that conversation. Yeah, Brisbane Heat, you absolute pillock. That's a mortal insult you've just said there, the Sydney Heat. Yeah, I agree with you, Cujo. Well, yeah, but Roman. The only reason I don't put Roman in that mix is because he hasn't been as prolific as those other guys in the last couple of years, and there's a variety of reasons for that. But yeah, in terms of Arnau, Kirill, and Land, those guys just seem to be banging out models every fucking month, and they're all bangers. Sergio is the only one that I have fronted up money for. Yeah, Arne, next level Arne in the last few years. Like the last few years, he's just gone absolutely off the charts, absolutely off the charts. His recent work has been in the top 3 for sure. Sergio is one of my favourite painters. He's the only guy who I follow on Patreon without fail. I think Sergio does an amazing job in terms of what he does. I think he's done some incredible pieces, but I don't think I put him in that top 3. No. What do you mean, Sergei Popovichenko? Because if you mean Sergei Popovichenko, I don't include him in that list because I'm not a historical fan, but he is awesome at what he does. I rarely understand what he's talking about, mate, but he's always like, you have to love your painting, and I love that. I do love it, Sergio, because of you, mate. Yeah, Popovichenko is great. He's top class. He just does way more historical stuff. That's it. Just not in my bag. Kirill does just crazy wild stuff, crazy stuff, and I love it. And I think many people would say would say Kirill is the number 1. There was actually a list of painters that the guy from who does Volomir's blog, he came up with the top 10 painters of 2020, and yeah, Colwell was 10, Natalia was number 7. I don't remember too many of the others. Roman Lepart was on there, Alfonso Giraldez, but yeah, Arnau and Kirill and Masculins, I think, were the top 3. David Aroba, I do love David Aroba's work too. Basically, just go on Putty and Paint and look through the top 15, 20, 25 painters on there, and you'll see how varied the style is, and how incredibly skilled some of those painters are. G'day, Jack 3000. Thanks, mate. That's right. That's spot on, Sharkwild. Like it's a subjective feeling thing. You're not gonna have one guy say, "Oh, Kirill's better than everyone else." Am I 17? Am I? Fuck yeah. Yeah, you've just got to smash. You just got to find something that resonates with you. And if you do that, that's it. You're done. What's going on there, Paul? Is that the trailer for Aroba versus what's his name? Alfonso? Oh, the top 10. Sweet. Yeah, that's a pretty good barometer actually of because the Putty and Paint site has historical data from years and years and years, and there's some guys on there who don't paint as much anymore. I mean, I haven't seen a new piece from Gruber in about 6 months, and he's ranked number 6. So that miniature art one focuses a little bit more on current. Do you do a painting a lot? Yeah. I wouldn't read too much into the rankings on Putty and Paint. Like, it's an algorithm that's determined by number of models that have been posted on the site and average votes of those models. So I am higher than Colwell because I have posted more models than him. Colwell is clearly a better painter than me, but he just doesn't do as many models. Oh well. Miniac or fucking what's that dude from Sweden, whatever his name is. You know the guy I mean. Can't think of his name. Yeah, Emil Squidmar, that's him. Thank you. He's actually a very good painter. He actually is a really good painter. If we're gauging purely on YouTube views, then it'd be probably Miniac or Midwinter Minis, but those guys aren't in the mixture of best painters in the world, sorry to say. And Flick, just another important note at this point, I'm doing some black lining at this stage, and you'll see this also helps the metallic effect look more correct. Yeah, I wish Squidmar would do more painting videos that are aimed at this sort of stuff. He doesn't, because it's not what the greater audience is, but he's a really awesome painter. Angle's great. Angle Giraldez. He's got his style and he does it well. Marco and Alex are some of the loveliest humans you will ever meet. They stayed with me and did some stuff here in Brisbane and in Australia, and at Monty got to hang out with them as well. They're great people, love them. Yeah, I mean they'd be in the mixture for sure of best. They've got a very recognisable style. Flickster, yes, I will. So if you're talking about which one of these, yeah. So what I'm doing now is just taking each section by section a little bit, just doing some tweaks, refining colours, you know, little glazes to smooth things out. So right now, yeah, you look at the lighting, this should probably be slightly darker, so I'm just going to do a little glaze here like this. That'll just bring that value down. Same with this here, little glaze here. And you just, this is the most fun part of painting, and this is why I'm sort of really enjoying painting this, because this is all just fun, relaxing, little tints, little shades, little pop highlights, the easy stuff, the fun stuff of painting. Yeah, I'll say this about Craft World, right? I don't love all their stuff. They go pretty out there sometimes, and I don't always love it. But that's the cool thing about a subjective hobby, right? I don't have to love everything they do. I've seen some of their works that absolutely blew me away, and they're really nice people. So that's sort of more important than everything else. Craft World Studio, yeah, they're great. I'm a Patreon subscriber. More to support them as humans than anything else. Can't remember if they did a class for Emil. Did they? Yeah, cool. Indeed they are. The stuff that they do is definitely challenging conventional miniature painters. sometimes it works, and sometimes they do stuff that just blows your mind, and other times you look at it and you go, Kaha's the same, just doing stuff that no one else is really doing. Yeah, I saw the models they brought over to Australia for their class. They brought a couple of models, and I was not at all impressed. But I had also seen their models at Monty the previous year, and I had been absolutely fucking blown away. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Well, their background is traditional art, and I think that's why they do stuff that's so unusual, because they're not constrained by what miniature painters. I mean, every miniature painter starts somewhere. Most of us start the Games Workshop background, and as you all know, from Games Workshop background, we learn to do the base colours, and then your highlights, and then your shadows, and that's it. They don't even think like that. They don't think about colours in the same way as us. That's a good observation, Dr. Flink. And I think that's why Kirill's so important for the historical community, because what he does is redefining what historical people can do, which is really, really important for them. Because I can tell you what my experience at Monty, and I'm obviously biased, but when I walked through the historical section, I didn't get my eyes drawn by anything. And when I walked in any of the fantasy sections, it was just bam, 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 fucking wild, crazy models, boundary pushing stuff that was unreal. Yeah. I also love Vince. Got to meet him, got to hang out with him at CanCon last year. Lovely man, really genuinely lovely man. And yeah, he's all about same thing I am. Paint because you want to paint, love it, enjoy what you do, have fun. And he's actually quite good. Like, he entered some stuff in Crystal Dragon. Again, he's plagued by the challenge of having to paint models whilst also trying to manage a YouTube channel, and that is impacting his capabilities. Yeah, there's not many that are the whole bag that can do the concept, sculpt and paint. Those ones are a very rare breed. The guy who won Best of Show at Monty last year is a Greek dude, and he sculpted and painted the piece that won. I might grab it out. I might show you some pictures of it, because it was just mind blowing. I'm spacing on his name at the moment, actually. Talk about a lot of painters. No, not the dwarves. That's Albert Moretto Font. He does some sculpting, but yeah, Trivarian does, but I wouldn't put him in the top there. Uh, Fuck, what's his name? I'm spacing so hard on this. Alan Carrasco, yeah, he's the man. Kyriakos, thanks, Sugwang. Yeah, Kyriakos Simios. Mad dog, absolute mad dog. Here it is, found it. Finally. Yeah, so his best of show piece at Monty was entirely sculpted and painted by him. No, it's not. It's not really an OSL one. This is it here. So it's a more elaborate diorama, but that's a nice close-up shot of the piece. So yeah, this guy sculpted and painted that. Beautiful, beautiful work. Thanks, Doug's mate. I couldn't fucking think of his name. Oh, it was jaw dropping. When I was there, I said to my girlfriend, best of show will either be this or Alfonso's Hellboy, and Hellboy won best of fantasy, and Kyriakos won best of show overall, which is glorious. It's you don't see many guys that can sculpt, guys or girls, sculpt and paint to the standards you need to do a best in show. Most of the stuff that you see from top painters is sculpted by top sculptors. Yeah, I'll show you the fabric, the detailing of the fabric. There's a close up of the detailing of the fabric. This is like, yeah, world class. Yeah, so the detail that he sculpted in each of those things is fucking sensational. So do like that guy. Do like that guy a lot. He was one of the judges for one of my categories too. The first year, I think it was. It was him, Ben Comets, and might have been Ruben Martinez. Ben's great, yeah, Ben's awesome. Yeah, I was actually saying earlier in the stream that the first time I went to Monty was awesome, so awesome to meet all my heroes and stuff, and Ben was one of the judges of my my category, and I didn't win any medals, and we'd packed up and we were all hanging out in the central town square out the front of the castle where Monty's held. And Ben was just hanging out, chatting to people, and I started chatting to him about everything, and he spent like half an hour with me just chatting about my models and how to be better. He was so great, really great. Mr. John Stark, if that is what I wanted to do, I could indeed do that. I played 2 tournaments of AOS. One of them had 90 players. I was playing Iron Jaws in an era when they were considered absolutely dog shit. And going to the final round, I was in the top 4, undefeated. And I had a minor loss in the final round. Finished 10th. And I shan't be doing that. I shan't be participating in the AOS BTC. I'm loving this close-up angle, by the way. Yeah, No Academy, I know him too. This is the thing, right? We could spend the next hour and a half rattling off painters that are awesome, and you go to a Monty, and you see them all. You see them all. They're all there. They're all putting their models on the podium next to yours, and you're just like, this was fucking bullshit. What the fuck? Because every piece in the Masters category is like, unsurprisingly, world class. Oh, Rodrigo. I got one of his pieces in my cabinet actually. He did a bust once. Got that sitting over there. Love him. Alright friends, we are coming up on the end of the stream, but I feel pretty pleased with the progress for tonight. I'm vibing on this model so hard. Have I let you down yet, Mr. Stark? Do you think I'll let you down when it comes to this wood? I probably will, actually. Let it dry, mate. Let it dry. Do some more little coats. Add a few special touches of wood. It'll look fine. Certainly not famous in Japan. Technically number 17, mate, actually. Number 17. Nah, that's a stitch up. I wouldn't be in the top 100, I don't think. Unless the question is, who is the fastest painter in the world? And then I'd be in the mix, I reckon. Well, we all know Flick's not in that fucking list then, don't we? Which James? Wapple? Yeah, he's quick. I think though, if you're talking about display stuff, like Sergio is actually really quick. Angel Giraldes really quick. Nah, don't, Mr. Stark. It's just a time thing. I play board games every Tuesday night, and I'm also playing every Thursday night at the moment. I paint heaps, play solo board games, and it's just a lot happening. I haven't enjoyed tabletop games as much recently. I haven't been anywhere near as engaging as hanging out with my mates playing board games. We talked about it the other night. Part of the reason why I think I don't like it is every now and then you get a fucking dickhead. A dickhead to play against. And yeah, I'd rather just hang out with my mates that I play with every week, that I like. Play games that are just as interesting and engaging. What you're talking about, W. Walzer, is a little thing called practice, my friend. It's what separates those guys from others. They're just exactly right. They know what they can do because of the practice that they've put in. I mean, Angel Giraldez, I've never seen his models in the flesh, right? But I'm of the mindset that I don't think I'll be wowed, because he doesn't paint for the flesh. He paints for box arts, for pictures of box covers, and he does an awesome job of it. It's fucking glorious to see him do his speed paints and stuff on his YouTube channel and doing them in rapid fire time. Sergio, follow his Patreon. I see him do stuff and I'm like, you cheeky dog, Sergio. Like, just getting shit done. Look at you go. Rumble, we played Lost Ruins of Arnak last night, mate. I did a review earlier in the stream. Fuck yeah. Yeah, no, I know you weren't, mate. I know you weren't. It's just the thing, like, those guys are good at, and I won't put myself in the same category of them in terms of skill level, but I'm quick because I just do this. I know how to do my thing, and I've just practiced it a lot, and so I can do it without much difficulty. Alright, I'm going to call it a night on this dude for the night. This is where he looks from a normal thing. It is a 2 thumbs up game, yeah, mate. So you can see from this thing when we're not super zoomed in, he looks pretty mad. We need to do more with the gold. The gold needs to pop a little bit more. And there's a few little elements that we just need to tweak a bit more. One thing we definitely need to do just before we close up stream, I am playing some Spirit Island next, by the way, so if you want to stay around for that, you can. Just check how he looks in here. So if you looked at the shot the other day, he felt a little bit lost in the colours, and so what I've done is I've upped the contrast. I've upped this level of intensity on the skin tone, and I've decreased the value of that pink when I did those airbrushes, so the airbrushing rather. So that now he feels much more like the focal central point of the piece, and when I look at him out of the light, it's even more so the case, which is cool. So what we might do next stream is we may go back to the base now that I feel like I know what I need to do with that. Finish off the base, and then we'll come back and do the rest of these boys. So outstanding. All right, stream team. Should I stream some Spirit Island, or should I just go play that in silence and let's raid some other motherfucker? Thoughts? Oh, thanks, Flick. Appreciate that. See you, Sharkwold. Ah, Conrad, I didn't know you were Zugs Wang. That's nice. Thanks, mate. All right, friends. Let's find a raid. We'll find a raid. I'll go play Spirit Island in private. Let's find someone to raid. See you, Paul. Miniatures Den is on. Thank you, Captain Carp. Thank you, friends. New friends as well. You're all great. I'm not seeing a lot of cool miniature painters, actually. But we can go... Oh, here we go. This guy's doing a Hellboy bust. Let's do that. He looks mad. Alright, friends. We're going to raid. We're going to raid. You're all legends. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the stream tonight. Next stream will be on the weekend. We will have a morning stream and an evening stream for friends. Oh, cool. I will save that link, Flick. Good suggestion. Miniature figures, cool. Alright, friends. You're great. Thanks, champions. See you later. Boom.
Oh, hello. Big Dino, hello, how are you? Humble, thank you for the follow. Welcome, Raiders. Hello, come on in. The water is lovely. How are you, Gallowfire? Thank you for the follow. Oh my gosh, look at all of you. Oh my gosh. No way. You're... Guys, are you going to push me to my 600? This is mental. Have a good. Have a good.